So learning some basic penetration testing sort of skills sort of helps you look at code slightly differently. It gives you sort of a different perspective on like where to find bugs or where to find things that might be a security hole. It also gives you awareness of risks when you're doing code reviews and things like that, so it can make your code more secure. It helps you identify vulnerabilities that you might already have in your code base. So there might be a new vulnerability out and you may have, everyone else has not noticed it in your code base, and you come along and find it. And it helps you sleep a bit easier if you're like constantly worried about going into work the next day finding you've been compromised and it was your code. Disclaimer, if you do any penetration testing or start getting into it, always get permission first. Like if your hosting partner, they normally got forms that you fill in before you do it. Otherwise you might get into quite a bit of trouble. And always think twice before you do it on production, especially if you're using automated tools and it goes off and starts deleting random customers. That's not a good idea normally. I think we all know sort of SQL injection vulnerabilities and how we mitigate against them. But sort of when you learn to sort of exploit stuff, you can learn some more details. So like if we wanted to use that vulnerability there to dump the database, for example, it's not massively obvious, like we could delete stuff, but getting data out of it slightly differently. So you can use blind SQL injections, which is where you can ask a database true or false questions. And then, like for that example, we're asking it if it's version 5. If it is, the page will take 5 seconds longer, 10 seconds longer to render. Otherwise, it will come back instantly. And you can sort of ask any questions you want. You can ask, have you got a table called users? Have you got a column called username or password? And then you can ask, does the password for admin start with A? Does it start with AB? So on, until you've dumped the whole database. And that might take you a little while to do if you did that manually. But there's some automated tools like SQL Map that you can use, and that will do all the work for you. I'll tell you what vulnerabilities there are on a specific page. The page doesn't necessarily look any different when you call it, but you get that information back depending how long it takes to do. You can do multiple threads, so it speeds it up. If you want to dump out a whole database and it's huge, you can put it running, provided they don't notice, leave it for a few days, and then you've got all this data. And it's really easy to use. Like that sort of thing can be applied to other parts of your system. So it's not SQL injection, but if you were planning to do a sort of shotgun attack on their login page and you wanted to do a bit of username, and I can never say that word, that's the one, get a list of users that are currently on that system. You could do something like go to the password reset page and you might have a huge big list of email addresses from another attack. Your script could just constantly do password resets for them. And if the page looks different, if it says you've got an account, you'll get a password, or there's no account, that's really good because then you've done your job. If the page does look the same, then you can use your script and look at the timing of how long that page took to load. If it's doing something behind the scenes like sending an email or making a call to an API to send an email, then like it might be hard to notice that with your human eye, but when it's like a response from a web page, it's really noticeable, the time it's taken compared to if you haven't got an account. So then you've got your list of usernames for that site, and then you can sort of do shotgun attacks on the login page. Other stuff, it doesn't replace like if you do it yourself, doesn't replace like getting a external penetration test, but it can be a good idea because when you do, they're normally time limited. So you might have a couple days of someone using like automated tools and going through your application. And if your application is quite big, they probably won't cover the whole of your application. And there might be parts of your system which has got like switches that you can turn on, different user permissions. Some apps might even have some stupid like secret parameters that you pass in to show extra functionality, and that won't be covered by the pen test normally if they haven't found it, if it's not obvious. So by doing that yourself, you know your app and you're more likely to find stuff. Also, if you're getting into testing other people's work can be quite useful because as developers sometimes we're fairly blinkered. We make assumptions about our own code. Whereas if you're testing someone else's, sometimes your motivation might go up. If you do find something in someone else's work, you might be really excited because you've just found a vulnerability, but remember that's someone else's work. They might not be so excited if you go in and start jumping around, so just don't be a dick. And again, if someone finds some vulnerabilities in your code, try not to be too defensive. Remember, it's better that your colleague found it rather than someone found it out in the wild and you've just lost all your data. Some good reading and places to start. Kali's got loads of pen test tools built in, and you can use like YouTube, like if you YouTube Kali SQL Injection or something, you get a nice video and it just walks you through how to do it. It's really, really easy. And the OWASP Broken Web Applications project is like a virtual machine you can download. And it's got web applications already coded, which have got those vulnerabilities built in. So it's a really good place to practice and prove that either you can exploit something or you can't. That's it.